Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. On behalf of the Outreach Community and Reform Center, I, Brother Ali, am privileged to be able to welcome you all on our behalf and say thank you for coming out this evening to this very important event. Alhamdulillah. This is Mayor Christensen's Public Safety Awareness Meeting Night. And alhamdulillah, I have some really great news that I'd like to share with you people about this particular event. This particular event is a monthly event that the mayor gives to keep Malden aware of trends in crime, ways to stay safe, and new initiatives the city is working on to make our neighborhoods a safer place to live and work. Throughout the history of Malden, this meeting has always been held on their official grounds. And for the very first time in Malden, the mayor has chosen to take this meeting outside of their official grounds. And for the very first time in Malden, they're having this meeting tonight, and the mayor has chosen to do this at our center, the Outreach Community and Reform Center. Please, let's give it up for the mayor for making us a part of Malden's history. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I keep saying that this place is blessed. God has blessed us. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. So, we'd like to begin this evening. I just wanted to quickly introduce some of tonight's speakers. Of course, we have from the Office of the Mayor, our own Mayor, Mayor Gary Christensen. And also, we have from the Malden Police Department, Lieutenant Kevin Mollis. And we also have from Malden's Fire Department, the Deputy Chief, Jack Kalangali. Thank you so much. And from the Department of Public Works, we have the Director, Mr. Bob Knox. And we also have tonight,
I think that's it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We also
Alhamdulillah.
have, the most important, we have them.
MashaAllah. And you are, MashaAllah. So, of course, as we begin our evenings, we like to begin with a short, a very short recitation of the Quran. We like to have the recitation of the opening of the Quran, Al-Fatiha. It's just 7 lines, inshallah. And to do this, we like to call our brother Ahmed Kadmir, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you, Brother Ahmed. And the translation of what was recited from the Holy Quran is, In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Master of the day of judgment, you alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Guide us along the straight path, the path of those whom you have bestowed your favor, not of those who have earned your anger, nor of those who have went astray. And we say Ameen, and we ask Allah to bless us of this, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. So at this point, we'd like to begin tonight's Public Safety Awareness Meeting. And we hand the entire floor over to the Office of the Mayor, and the Mayor himself, Mr. Gary Christensen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I want to say welcome to tonight's Public Safety Awareness Meeting. One of the things that we did back in January when we assumed office was to put together a group of city officials who would travel around the city on a monthly basis and let you know what we're doing, and then also hear from you as to some of your concerns and areas of interest that we can help with. It's an effort to try and work together. And again, as was said, this is the first time we really have left city grounds to hold this event, and I couldn't be happier to be here with you all. So tonight, I'm very happy to present, the panel that we have assembled here for you tonight. And the way it typically works is we'll have updates, quick updates provided by the various officials here tonight. And then the most important thing that we want to do is get to your questions and try to make sure that you're aware of what it is that the City of Malden is doing to make the city a better place to live, work, and raise a family. So with that being said, thank you to all of you. We don't get the opportunity to say that, because of everything that's going on in the world, but I do want to say thank you for choosing Malden as your home, and if it isn't your home, thank you for visiting and spending time here in our community. I also want to really state, before I turn it over to these individuals, is how grateful I am to them for taking time out of their busy schedule to be here on a Saturday night with the OCRC. So with that being said, first up, we're just going to get a brief update from Lieutenant Molas. Then we'll go to the Deputy Chief Colangeli just to say a couple of minutes about what we're doing. Then we'll go over to Director Knox, and then we're going to get to your questions. That's the most important reason why we're here tonight. Lieutenant Molas?
Sure. Can you hear me without this? Okay. First of all, I want to thank everyone here on behalf of the Police Department for this gracious invitation. It's very important for the Police Department to get out and get to know and interact with one of the most vital aspects of the community. Many people have mentioned that Malden is a great place to live and work and raise your family. Well, your true testimony is also a great place to worship too. And that's one of the key components to a community, is where people worship. I want to tell you also, this is probably the first time many of you have met me. I want to give you a big shukran for this invitation. And the reason I can say that in your own language for many of you is that I'm very, very lucky to have many friends who share the same faith as you. This morning I actually sent messages to friends of mine in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon. I told them that I would be speaking at a mosque tonight, and they were absolutely overjoyed. My memory of that came true the other day during the Veterans Day Parade as I was walking down Mountain Avenue. I've been on the police for 32 years, and 32 years ago, it would be very rare that we would have any presence of, Islam in the city. There was a Dr. Mohammed Ahmed who had an office at 599 Main Street, and a very close friend of mine was a student from Lebanon living at 183 Mountain Avenue. Other than that, there was not the visible, vibrant presence that we see today. So to be here in this very holy place means a lot to me, especially from someone who has actually been to the Dome of the Rock, and I've been into the Blue Mosque in Istanbul. So I'm very, very glad to be able to stand and represent the police department. One of the things I generally do at these meetings is highlight some of the recent criminal activity that has taken place in the community, give you an overview of that over the past month, and then I try to also give you some information that might make your lives a little bit safer. I want to highlight some very, very good police work that the police department has done in the past month, not only in Malden, but in this specific area. Going back to October 26th during the daytime on the west end of the city, a detective, Rocky Gifford, saw some suspicious activity in the neighborhood, called other officers, Detective Montina, into the area, and they were able to apprehend someone who had just broken into a house on the west end of the city during the daytime. Daytime house breaks are something that occur on a somewhat regular basis, and it's something that we can all protect ourselves from by making sure that our houses are more secure and that we're more aware of what's going on in our neighborhood. But I want to particularly tell you that the actions of those officers, Rock Gifford, Mitch Montina, and Officer Cox, were quite commendable on October 26th. That very same afternoon, officers responded to a call of a person who was walking on the west side of the city near Summer Street, who was robbed of their iPhone, and the robber, two robbers actually, one of them showed a handgun in his waistband. They left after the crime, and very good work by a detail police officer, Richard Barthelmess, observed the suspect. A foot chase ensued. Many officers converged on the area, including, again, Detective Montina. I know that Sergeant Mike Goodwin was involved, and they were able to apprehend this suspect and, through an investigation, locate a second suspect. That was a robbery of someone just walking down the street, robbed of their iPhone. But again, some very, very good work, by the police department on that. And then on November 1st, we had an incident late at night near the train station where a person said that somebody that they knew had an argument with them and alleged that a gunshot was fired at them. I have to commend the work of Sergeant Richie Corielli, Detective Bob DeSalvatore, Detective Mike Powell, Detective Steve Fitzpatrick, who relentlessly worked on this case, used a lot of investigative strategies, and were able to track this suspect down to Chelsea late at night and apprehend him and do a further investigation that led to some very, very serious drug charges. Those are very, very good pieces of police work that your officers, your Malden officers, were able to do on your behalf to make this city a safer place. Sometimes we only see the first story about the crime that's happening, and many times you don't get to see the end result, the good work, the hard work, the effective work, legal work that these officers put together. And it's my privilege to be able to stand up and offer their names, not just a general overview, to actually tell you who they are. In addition to that, that brings up kind of an important point that I want to bring out, that we have had a recent trend of crime that I think we should all be aware of. At nighttime, people that are walking from the area around the train station, we have had a pattern of robberies taking place. And it would appear that the robbers in these cases are targeting people that are alone, isolated. Sometimes it's obvious that they might have some language skills that are not as good. The English is not their primary language, and they're being robbed of items like their purses, their iPhone, or valuable things. Now, one thing I try to tell people is, in order to protect yourself from crime, there's really not any crime that you cannot protect yourself from. And there's ways that you can do it. And what I'm trying to tell people to do, and I watch it all the time, is when I see people walking home from the train station at night, to just be a little bit more aware of your surroundings. Because I sit there and I'm very surprised sometimes when I see people that are not paying attention. And there's actually 4 states of mind that contribute to somebody being robbed or a victim of a crime. The first one is if you are oblivious. They call it threat oblivion. That means you're walking around and you're not aware of anything. And you see that somebody's on their phone, text messaging, or listening to music. They're not aware of anything. That makes you very vulnerable to being a victim of a crime. Now, there's a second state of awareness called threat awareness. And that would be if you could drive your car down the street and talk about what you saw. I just saw a red house, I saw a boy on a bike. You're aware of what's going on around you. You're not totally isolated on your thoughts, but you're aware of it. That's a good state of mind. And the third one would be a threat assessment. That would be if you're walking along and you see something that doesn't look good, and it's in your mind, I should really pay attention to this. That's a good thought process. And then the last one is threat avoidance. If you see something that doesn't feel good, makes you feel uncomfortable, get away from it. And you know, you have to take that in mind. There are people that take shortcuts into darkened areas. I have to say one thing, the mayor and the city is doing everything they can to bring light to the community in many ways. One of the ways we're trying to do it is through electricity. And there are areas where crime is happening that the city is lighting up, because illumination reduces the likelihood of crime, but people have to be paying attention when they're walking. So those are things that people can do if they're out at night, walking by themselves or even with someone else, to be a little more aware of your surroundings. One thing that we brought up at every meeting is, when many people have a cell phone, if they think there's an emergency, they call 911. And it's my understanding, if you call 911, you're not going to get the Malden police right away. Some of you are shaking your head. That means you've already gotten this information. If you don't know that, what a lot of people do is they program their phone for the Malden police emergency number, which is 781-322-1212. 781-322-1212. If you can program that number into your phone and you have an emergency and you call that number, you will immediately get a Malden police dispatcher who is knowledgeable about the area you're in and will be able to get you assistance right away. 781-322-1212. 781-322-1212. And the beauty of this meeting is I'm seeing people acting on this information as I speak. That's a very good result. So those are the type of things that we want people to pay a little bit more attention to at night. For this immediate area where this great holy place is, I have to give the mayor tremendous credit and the police chief. You have a police officer that walks this area now. You didn't have it before. So you have police presence in this area that did not exist before the mayor took office. You can be very thankful to him for this. And I can also tell you that I have seen the results of that office's work. So this area, the safety of this area has been enhanced by visible presence of the police and also the use of technology. The mayor is expanding on the use of surveillance cameras in public places in the city to make us all feel safer. So that's kind of a general overview. I will certainly listen to any question that you have afterwards. I really thank you for this opportunity to come here. I feel very welcome here. I've been here before, and it's one of the greatest examples of the changing dynamic of the city of Malden for the better. And I know you're going to continue to grow and grow, and your presence will be bigger and bigger. And because this is a holy place, I'll ask you one last thing. Many years ago, when policemen became policemen, they weren't called policemen, they were called watchmen. So policemen used to be watchmen. And I'm going to bring up a quote from a psalm. And I know that the Islamic faith embraces the psalm. Psalm 127, I believe it was David writing to Solomon. And it was talking about the righteousness of the work of the watchman. And it was very important that people pray so God will watch over the city. And before President Kennedy died on November 22nd, 1963, he was supposed to give a speech to the Chamber of Commerce in Dallas. He died before he got to give the speech, but the speech still remains. And the last words he was going to say that day was to ask people to have God watch over the work of the watchman of liberty and freedom and people's protection, and that's kind of what a policeman does. And he quoted Psalm 127 that said, I believe I'll be correct, brother, I mean, it's that, except the Lord watcheth over the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. So with your prayers and your devotion, I think that the work that we will do will be blessed, and our work will never be in vain. So I thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, now we're going to hear from Deputy Chief Jack Colangelo.
Well, it's a tough act to follow. I just want to echo the lieutenant's remarks and say greetings. Thank you for coming to Malden, and greetings from the Malden Fire Department. Normally I talk about what's going on at the fire department. Things have actually been relatively quiet fire-wise this year, and we're all very appreciative of that. But this time of the year, we do see usually upticks in certain kinds of fires. Sometimes people overload their extension cords through religious lighting, that kind of stuff. Candles are very prevalent this time of the year, and candles, as you're aware, they're open flame devices, always very, very dangerous. We want to make you aware that those kinds of overloading outlets with religious decorations, candles, those kinds of issues, just be very cognizant that they are dangerous. Also, oil burners, gas burners should probably be cleaned out. They haven't been used all year long, so we see some of those fires kicking up this time of the year. But other than that, things are going very, very well in Malden on our end. We appreciate everyone's help in making Malden a safe city. Just want to make people aware that you should always have your smoke detectors working. When we changed the clocks, which we did recently, we should try to change the batteries, your smoke detectors. For a little $8, $10 device, they work their weight because they really save a lot of lives. So you should always check those. There's always a test button on them. Kind of expanding a little bit on what the lieutenant said, there is a direct line to the police department, which is the 322-1212 line. But the 911 system, if you do have a landline, will give you the Malden police, and your address will come up. So if you have an issue with a language problem, or somebody you know, when you dial the 911 system from a telephone landline, you'll actually get the address up there, and they will dispatch the appropriate resources. So having said that, I'm very proud to work for the City of Malden, very proud of the job the mayor's been doing. And once again, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, and thank you once again.
Good evening. As my colleagues stated, I'm honored to be here in front of you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding streets, sidewalks, snow, winter activities. The Department of Public Work does many functions in the city, keeping the streets clean and the parks, and due to the hard work of the mayor, we'll be increasing our staff because it's very important to keep the appearance of the city. As the mayor stated to me back months ago, the appearance is everything. So we're working hard to do that for the residents of the City of Malden through the mayor and the Department of Public Works. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we want to get to questions. So do you have, so now we'll take questions at this stage. Do you want to,
I'll just start with the question.
do you want to pass that around?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
First of all, I appreciate your attendance over here, and I would like to not take too much time and give a brief story that personally happened to me. I've been living I'm originally from Chicago. I've been in Massachusetts for around 7 years. I work in a defense contractor with Raytheon, pretty big presence here in Massachusetts.
Right.
And I have to say, I was kind of hesitant moving to Malden around 2-3 years ago, because I'm originally from Burlington, and believe it or not, living in Burlington, I was living in a gated area, and I still got my car stolen twice in 1 year.
Wow.
And I came to Malden because I heard about how diverse, and I think you mentioned, or some official from Malden said that I think Malden is one of the most diverse cities
In the state.
In the state of Massachusetts, or actually pretty much in New England, possibly. And because of how crowded this area was, and because of the kindness of the people, I thought, there was going to be more, I'm not talking about crimes, I thought there would be more issues that I had to, keep myself alert from. And I've been here for almost 3 years now, and I can tell you I have not had a single issue in Malden. And that which I think, Sir Lieutenant, you guys are doing a wonderful job, because if your job was not committed to the way you did it, I would not have felt safe. All of us would not have felt safe. And we appreciate what you're doing, because, the fire department, the mayor, the police, you guys, what you're doing for us means a lot to us as well. And we would like to thank you for what you're doing and making us feel safe and welcomed. And thank you.
Well, I think we're going to end the meeting. Can't get any better than that. No, we want to say thank you, and we are working very hard to further increase, the great job that these individuals are doing. We are in the midst of adding a multitude of police officers to the department. So I'm working with the city council to make sure that happens as we move forward. But I do want to say thank you for choosing Malden, and you know, we look forward to working with you to do even more in the future. Next question? Yes.
My question is to the fire department. Now, you have mentioned a couple of reasons for increase in fires in Malden. Now, some states or some cities report increase in fires during Halloween, you know, trick or treat kind of thing. Is that thing happening in Malden or not?
No, actually, we started out this year, it was a very dry year in Malden, so we had quite a few mulch fires that extended to homes. There's some very tragic home fires this year. But come the fall, I mean, it was a relatively quiet fall. There was no big upticks during Halloween. And so far, we have our share of small fires, but nothing of any consequence. And I'm, you know, very, very happy to report that. I mean, I got the kind of job I think you want me to sit around. And hopefully we'll have a very quiet, you guys have a very safe winter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I want to extend my welcome, just like the brother said. And in our tradition, there is a saying, whoever does not thank people does not thank God. So every one of you actually I actually appreciate. The Department of Public Work, about 3 months ago, I got somebody dump furniture in front of my house. And this is not just trying to praise you guys. Within maybe 2 hours, the tractor came in of the Department of Public Work and they cleaned it. That was beautiful. Also the fire department, I owe you. My son Omar, who was working actually in the office of the mayor, when he actually fell back and hit his head, the fire department was there before the ambulance and everybody else. And the tremendous actually Malden Police Department has actually one of the most of the nicest officers actually I've seen. Yeah. I've been in this city for the past 20 years, and I thank you for that. Now comes the hot part. The state of Massachusetts, I believe, have actually given a lot of hotels around, maybe a budget or to move some of displaced people.
Right.
Did that contribute to some of the rise of crimes? And actually, we had banks have been robbed in this city, you know, in the past 6 months, and also some of the grocery stores. And it was just if you can, you know, update us on this. Thank you very much.
Sure. Very generally, sir, I can tell you with some level of confidence that I cannot attribute any crimes that happened that you made reference to, some robberies and what have you, where the people that committed the crimes are alleged to have lived at the location that you're talking about. I will tell you again, that area, we have had some recent conversations about ways we can maybe make it a better environment for the people that are temporarily living there, to maybe address some issues with regard to safety on the premises. But you do bring up a very good point about the reality of that type of transitional living. But I can tell you that from my information, standing right here, that I can't tell you any crime that has occurred of any high prominence that could be directly attributed to that environment up there. But it's not something that we're not treating as if it's not part of the fiber of Malden. So.
Thank you.
Any of the sisters? Question? Okay.
Thank you. I would like to welcome all of you. My name is Khawla. I live in Linden area.
Sure.
I would like to ask you about question number 3 on the voting ballot, the legalization of marijuana.
Yep.
That won by 63%. I was like, till now I can't believe that the majority said yes to pass this question. And I know it had, in order for it to pass, it needs federal approval. The question is, what does it mean? I don't know how to interpret. What does it mean in our community if they pass the legalization of marijuana. There will be so many shops that will sell marijuana. There will be handling it like they have, let's say, first they it's misdemeanor, right? But now like you have how much like a supply for 6 months? It's okay. I mean, what does it mean for our kids, for the students, for high school, for our, you know, for the generation to come? I mean, how are you gonna handle this thing? I mean,
Okay. Again, this is going to be a very general answer. My belief on question 3 that it dealt with the issue of medical marijuana, while not dealing with the complete legalization of marijuana, it does have an impact. I would say that this is something that would have to be worked out in the future with the idea of how it would be regulated and how it would be dispensed. If it's medical marijuana, I would have to presume that there has to be some mechanism with a physician saying that the person needs it. Now, you bring up another point, how does it get dispensed? Is it through a pharmacy or is it through a store? Those are all matters that I think that once a law gets passed, then how it works out is how it is the difficult questions. Passing the law sometimes is the easiest part, and the aftermath is the difficult one. I will tell you that the city does have a very good ability to regulate zoning issues for businesses. But I will tell you, if the law is passed because of the voters' mandate and it's determined to be the law, we're obligated to follow the law. But I would say that the working out of how medical marijuana is dispensed is something that's going to have to be regulated by agencies from the state and federal level before it trickles down to us. But I think the tenor of your question was a general concern that marijuana laws seems to be changing to the point that it's going to become legalized. Mm-hmm. Your concerns are shared by some very good people. I believe most district attorneys opposed the question years ago that made it a civil infraction to have, you know, a small amount of marijuana, but we're working through that. But these laws are an example of the legal mechanism of people being able to put a ballot question together and vote on it. But I will tell you, the city has passed ordinances with regard to the improper use of marijuana in public that is stricter than the state law, and it's something that the police actively investigates when people are selling, you know, marijuana illegally. There have been a lot of good arrests, you know, for that. So, but I would suggest that anything that deals with the legislative way it goes out, you would probably want to stay on top of it with your state legislator and even your congressional.
Yeah, and if I could just add, Lieutenant Molis is right. The city has been very aggressive in the past when ballot questions or laws have passed. We've taken the approach to do what we can here in the city without conflicting with, you know, either state or federal law. That's going to be the same case here with question 3 that just passed. On Tuesday night, the City Council has an item on their docket to already start anticipating what impact the law might have here on Malden. So I believe they will take some steps where they can to try and minimize the impact here in our community. So we'll keep the, you know, the center informed as to what steps we do take, but, you know, the lieutenant is right. We are trying to stay ahead of whatever impact, you know, these questions will have on our community without, you know, doing anything that would interfere with the will of the people.
We had 2 brothers, so if there's another sister who has something she'd like to say, okay?
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Khadija. I'm from Everett, but I am here in Malden 24/7. We own a business here. Let me just comment on the city of Malden 4 years ago, and now I see a huge difference and a big improvement. My question is about our teens. When I am at the Malden station, especially when I am out, I see a lot of teens hanging outside. I don't know what they do in drugs, or this is really a big problem. Do we have any activities for them, or do we have any special programs to make our teens safe and stay away from the trouble? Thank you.
Good question, and thank you again for choosing Malden as the home of your business. I'm very happy to say, working with the City Council, that in the next week or two, we will be opening our very own teen center. It's called the Malden Teen Enrichment Center, and it's going to be a place to address the question that you asked, which will be a place for our teens to be safe and to have a place to learn and grow. We anticipate the hours will be in concert with, school. When school lets out, the Teen Enrichment Center will be open till 8, 9 o'clock at night. That's one thing we're doing. And if anybody's around, I know the OCRC is participating in the Parade of Holiday Traditions next Saturday. They're going to give a tour of the Teen Enrichment Center right after the parade's over. So as many of you that can attend, you'll be seeing for the first time along with us this new enrichment center. The other thing that we've been trying to do more of is provide internships and jobs for our teens. So just this past summer, we had over just about 325 teens working in the city of Malden. The year before that, we had 130. So we've made it a priority with the City Council to try and provide more opportunities to keep our teens busy and to put them in a better position as they grow and go to school and go to work. And then I'd say the final thing that we've been very impressed with that we just started is a recreational program for our teens. So on Wednesday nights at the Salemwood School, we have what they call as an open gym for our middle school students to be able to go and exercise and stay off the street and have a place to be safe. What I should also say that Malden does very well, and if there's any ever help that we can provide, you let us know. We have a lot of great groups and organizations here in the community that are trying to make a difference. I believe, an assistant coach in the audience regarding the Malden Neighborhood Basketball League. That's just one organization that's working hard to try and give our teens an opportunity to, be busy, to stay busy, and to also make new friendships. So that's some of the things that we're doing, as we're here tonight.
Alhamdulillah, we see quite a few young faces in the crowd, some of our teens, and it'd be really nice at some point if we can maybe get a question or concern from some of our young people in the Malden area. Your future may be here in Malden, or even if you have some suggestions. Would you like to say something or make a comment? Okay, any of the brothers? Our turn. Anybody? Okay.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure being here in Malden. I'm originally a transplant from California and also Denver, Colorado. I've been out here for about a year. With my great pleasure, I'm a new convert here in the mosque.
Welcome.
One of my concerns I have is that what the sister was mentioning about legalizing marijuana. As you know, California was the first state to actually initiate that, and also Denver, Colorado. My experience since being there, seeing it, has enormously exploded like a 7-Eleven. One of the concerns that I've seen out of this also, now they're actually letting the individuals carry one joint because of the outcome of that. And so what they're saying now is that they're going to actually push that, they're going to make that legal. And so along with that, the Constitution. So our concern, my concern, is that knowing that that's happening in the West Coast, also to the mid-state of Colorado, what's not preventing that happening here? And what assurance that it's not going to happen here? Because now, like I said, they could actually smoke a joint in a public area.
Right. Well, while your question is very specific and dramatic, it's also very large because it deals with a constitutional issue. And when I became a police officer, I took an oath that I would uphold and defend the Constitution, the laws of the Constitution, both at a state and a local level. And one of the issues that confronts police is there are times when our job requires us to enforce laws or not be able to enforce things that we have a personal opinion about. But we're still, our requirement is to embrace the Constitution and the rights of people that have those rights afforded to them by the Constitution. If these laws are changed through a legislative process that is constitutional and sound, it's not beyond belief that we would be dealing with laws that we don't all agree with. I don't think that there's too many laws that everyone in this room would universally agree on, but that is the reality of a good society, a free society, and a protected society. However, as the mayor said, there have been laws that have been passed on the state level that have some added regulation on a local level. And I'll give you one real quick that has nothing to do with marijuana. Possession of a knife, okay? Under the state law, you cannot possess a knife that's a switchblade, that has a blade so long or sharp on both sides. But you can possess a knife that is sharp on one side. Well, the city of Malden and some other cities passed local ordinances that said you cannot possess certain knives unless it's for work or hunting or fishing. So that's an example of a city passing a stricter ordinance to make it more strict than what the state law allows. But there are some limits to how far you can go. If the legislature says that marijuana is legal at some point, I don't know that a city would be able to then say, well, we're saying it's illegal. What Malden has tried to do is come up with ways to regulate the use of it in compliance with the Constitution, but also to take into account for the quality of life of people in the community.
If I could, yeah. I was going to say, and it also reinforces the importance of the OCRC staying involved, not just with your local officials, but with your state and federal officials as well. To me, I've been in public service now 10+ years, and I've always felt that, really things can change through your actions. So, I would encourage all of you, after tonight is over, to at some point maybe have the same type of forum with, the state and federal officials. But I'm confident that we are doing what we can at the local level to try and protect, our community moving forward.
I have a question. What are you doing, to recruit Muslim police officers or firemen to the youth department? Or how can you attract Muslims to your department? Because we have a lot of cultural sensitivities, so that maybe need to be addressed.
Sure.
It's an excellent question, and I will say that it's certainly a priority or an indication of a movement within the police department, I believe within the fire department, to have agencies that are more reflective of the community. Now, one of the best ways to attract Muslim men or women to the career of being a police officer or a firefighter, I think, would be to engage forums like this in which we could explain what the job entails and make it more appealing to them. Because these are civil service jobs that require you to take the initiative to take a test. Our police department does reflect the community in many ways. We do have Haitian-speaking officers that can speak Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Vietnamese. So we have made initiatives in that area. It certainly would be a beneficial thing to have an officer, from a community such as yours. In my opinion, the greatest thing to do is to create motivation within that community. And the way that we could do that, and I would be willing to do that, is if you could put together some type of forum, I don't care when, where, or how. I would speak to any group that you have of young people of that age and explain the police job to them, what it entails, how you go about becoming one. And you never know, in that crowd, that could cause somebody to go on to pursue this as a career, or become a firefighter, or become a mayor. or become a member of the DPW, because these agencies have to reflect the community that we serve. I can tell you that it is effective. There's 9, I think, members of the Malden Police Department now that were students at Malden High School when a policeman was assigned there. And through that interaction and questioning and seeing it, that had some triggering mechanism in their life to take the test and pursue that career. So again, my offer stands that if you want to put together something, I'd be glad to attend and speak to as many young men and women you can think of that might be interested in that job and explain it to them.
Yeah, the other thing that we have done is, on the city website, cityofmalden.org, the site can now be translated, and we are posting a lot of our positions there under human resources. So I'd encourage all of you to, sort of bookmark that website to be able to stay in touch with us and us to stay in touch with you. You can follow us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter. We now have an electronic newsletter that we send out every couple weeks to let the community know what's going on around you. And if those that don't have a computer or don't have access to the internet, will mail the newsletter to your home. So again, I'd encourage all of you to, get in touch with us so we can, start sharing information to make sure you know of the various positions that exist throughout the community. Has been a goal of mine since I entered office to start reflecting what our city has become. And as the lieutenant mentioned, now in the mayor's office for the first time, we do have someone speaking Haitian Creole, Mandarin. We have someone downstairs speaking Cantonese, and we're working very diligently to have someone in City Hall that speaks Arabic. So that's a goal of mine during my 4-year term here in the city of Malden.
Just real quick, for those who are not receiving your email, your newsletter, how do they receive it? Could they go to your website and just submit their email address and they'd start getting it?
Yes, and if you didn't want to have to do that, if you email info, I-N-F-O, at cityofmalden.org, and just give your information, we'll do the rest.
Any questions from the sisters? Brothers?
Just a quick follow-up to your answer on city ordinances and how they can make the state laws more strict. What is the penalty for violating a city ordinance? How enforceable are these ordinances, in other words?
It depends, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Some city ordinances have the right of arrest. I'll give you an example. If someone is drinking alcohol openly in public, they can be arrested by the police, brought to court, and they only can pay a fine. They will not go to jail for violating a city ordinance. But that's an example. An open container of alcohol, that's a city ordinance violation, and you can be arrested for that. An ordinance relative to public consumption of marijuana, if it's a city ordinance violation, the police, in theory, would have the ability to make an arrest or issue a summons or some mechanism of enforcement.
What we have tried to do too is, make it so they are flexible depending on the situation that arises. So our enforcement officers, our personnel, have the ability to, use their judgment when an incident occurs that's a violation of our ordinances. We try to work with people instead of against people. And so it seems to have worked well. Some of our ordinances have warnings first, then an escalation of fines. Some of our ordinances start at fines and they escalate. So, depending on the situation, we really try to let our managers, our people that work for the city, be flexible in instituting fines.
Yeah, but the main thing is that you are trying to work with people, not against them.
Correct. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, in accordance with, in compliance with the city and federal law, how could the city of Malden help or push against to have the help of the landlords in being a little bit selective in renting their properties to save their people?
Right. And I think what you're referring to is some of our problem properties throughout the city.
Yes, because I've noticed without mentioning neighborhoods,
sure,
some neighborhoods they were safe, and then landlords have rented their properties to people that you don't know what activities they are involved in.
Sure.
You could see cars driving by through the night and beside, screaming and
Sure.
troubling.
Well, one of the things that we did early on, back in 2012, was to kind of retool this problem properties unit, which we're all participants in. It's a group of city officials that meets every 2 weeks to identify properties that have illegal apartments, that have rooming houses, that are violating some of our codes, some of our ordinances, and then we try to work with them to remediate the problem. Now, if the landlord does not work with the City of Malden, then we have the ability to take legal action. And if you have the time, on the city's website, there is a section dedicated to the problem properties unit. And I would encourage all of you, if you ever see a location that is bringing, harm to a neighborhood, to get that information to us right away. What's always surprised us is that, the number of times that people have information, but for whatever reason, they don't submit it to the city. I can't stress how important it is for all of us, if you see something that, looks awry in the city, to get that information to the appropriate city officials. Problem properties is the same thing as I said before. If you jot down info@cityofmalden.org, that could be a starting basis for us to start working on a home that might be causing problems in the City of Malden. My perspective, there is no worse thing that can drag a neighborhood down than a problematic property, and that's why we're meeting every 2 weeks to hold, those homeowners, not those homeowners, but those houses, those locations accountable in trying to make it, more palatable for the rest of the people who live nearby.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I just want to add more thanks to the letter we sent to the mayor and the lieutenant to his office about the great job he does in the corner over here in Pleasant Street. And I was witness it with my own eye, and I saw Mr. Lieutenant. Actually, I sent you the thanks with Ryan, the officer, and I saw you with my own eyes around the building, and especially on Fridays. That's mean a lot to us.
Thank you.
And that was a great job, and it made me feel so good. I rent number 18 on Pleasant Street. I have my office in the building, but I have an occasion to rent a place. I feel so, so comfortable with the area, and I jump in and I rent a place downstairs, and then months later I was sorry. I saw a loud environment. Sooner or later, when I saw you with my own eyes, I feel so comfortable now. And it's just some issues with the power in the building and stuff, but we'll be opening on the 1st of January, inshallah, God willing. But thanks to everyone, the whole office of the department, of the fire department, the office of the mayor, and Mr. Council.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think what we heard early on when we were campaigning, one of the top 5 issues that people identified to us was they wanted the downtown revitalized. They wanted this to be a safer area for people to come and go. And so that's why when we assumed office, working with Lieutenant Mullis and the rest of the panel, we made it a goal, a priority, to have an officer dedicated to the downtown. So we're hoping that, plus some of the work that we're doing out on Pleasant Street, which will be done this summer, and hopefully if we can do something with City Hall at the top of the street, that will create sort of an atmosphere that people will want to, set up businesses here and for customers to come and patronize those businesses.
You keep your promises, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before
Thank you.
you give me,
Thank you.
you call us back.
I don't think I need the mic. My husband said I'm loud. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Hi, everyone. Just to go back to the problem properties, I was wondering if you had a system in place to identify these problem properties, or you strictly rely on reports from local people, like residents?
Good question. It's a combination. I think, a lot of us, we're in a city of 60,000 people, so we rely on you. This is, the thing that you can do to help us make the difference we all want. Again, if you see something that just doesn't look right, you should get that information, to the appropriate city officials so we can act on it. But we too, in our capacity, you know, particularly with Lieutenant Molis, we do try to get around the city, and if we see something, you know, we also act on it as well. And I know the lieutenant can say firsthand with his unit as to how that works from the city side.
Yeah, I'll give you a brief example. It's a good question because one that really stands out in my mind, there was a time that I was with some other officers and we were trying to serve an arrest warrant on somebody. We went to the house, knocked on the door, the warrant gave us the right to look inside, and we uncovered an illegal rooming house. Now, we would not have uncovered that had we not been present there. I was able to call Deputy Colangeli from the fire department and the building inspector, and they came right down and took immediate action. Another thing that we can do from the police and fire end is we can look at police reports, and if a certain apartment or a house gets 3 reports for, say, a loud disturbance or a party or some type of activity, that can cause the property to start to be viewed as potentially being a problem for the neighborhood. So there are some official ways that we do seek out to identify properties that are trending toward becoming a problem for the good people that live in the neighborhood. And also if it comes about just a normal passing through the community during our on-duty and off-duty hours to be have our eyes and ears open, see things and report it. But like the mayor said, you live in the neighborhood, you know what's going on 24 hours a day, and we welcome the input. And it's my understanding you can also offer, your name would never have to come up. I want to emphasize that.
Good point.
Yes, we want to emphasize, don't be reluctant to call the police for criminal activity, even if you are questioning whether it's exactly a crime happening, but even on the problem property thing. You would never have to be a witness in any court or any type of forum where you would have to confront a neighbor. That's, you know, we look into the information and we make a determination if it's factual or not.
Okay. Deputy Chief?
I'd also like to say on my end, we happen to go into a lot of property in the city to do inspections. All commercial property in the city is required to have inspections. Residential property is required to have inspections if they're going to sell or transfer the property. And in our course of our inspections, if we see something that, you know, triggers our interest, yeah, triggers our interest, and we'll also bring in the appropriate agencies. We had a fire on Cottage Place, probably in the spring, and we found an illegal business in the basement. Had maybe 20 sewing machines. They were doing that kind of thing. So we're in your house for whatever particular reason. If we go in for a medical call or any reason we see something, as the mayor said, that sparks our interest, then we'll bring the appropriate officials to do it like that. And I did work with Lieutenant Molis on that illegal rooming house. We see that every so often. But the mayor has really, really beefed up this problem property unit and given us the tools we can go act on it. But your input is so vital, because we may go there, but you live there.
Right.
So your part is very important.
Yeah, and I think what has helped us with this problem properties unit, it's, you know, I chair the committee, but we also have police, fire, we have legal representation there, we have residential, we also have city councilors on there, and so we really tried to make it a cross-section, you know, of the city, so we're all in concert with addressing what the issue may be. And that's another thing I think, you know, I'd ask all of you is that sometimes we just, you know, we have tunnel vision on a daily basis, but look left and look right, because if you do that, it's going to help, you know, the city overall moving forward.
And help the local economy as well, because you know, renting illegal rooms and illegal apartments is hurting good landlords and
Absolutely.
legal properties. You know, as owners, we spend a lot of money on rental units, and then you find across from you a neighbor who's illegally renting rooms in his basement without the city knowing and without most of the neighbors knowing. That hurts us.
Right, and that's why we're meeting every 2 weeks on this. You know, that's how important we think it is. And, you know, the committee has 3 police officers dedicated to it, 2 fire. So we've really tried to, you know, make it a priority of the city, because we agree. All it takes is one home to really hurt a neighborhood block. And so this is just the beginning, though. We have some other things that we have coming up that we think will further enhance that unit moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I have an anonymous question. Somebody gave it to me. We'd like to know, is it possible for the city to give us 2 free hours parking on Juma?
I knew that question was coming. I knew that question was coming. Parking is one of the most perplexing issues I've ever dealt with in my time as a public servant. We're continuing to do, what we can, and we would welcome, input from the OCRC and anybody else that has some ideas on what to do here, because, we're trying some little things to address parking, but, we're going to need, a lot of help in this area. We have 60,000 people, and we just have, I think, about 35,000 cars, maybe, I think, that we know of. There's some that aren't paying their excise tax that should be. So, hopefully with these improvements that we're making in the downtown, that will, I think, get us to where we all want to be with respect to parking. One problem that we've had in the downtown that we're trying to address is people that will park and then sort of game the system and just, move the car for a little period and then put it back to where it was. We're hoping, as part of this restoration project out here, that we'll have some new technology, some pay stations that will keep the flow moving, so that people that need to come in to the OCRC will have the ability to do so. And then the other thing is with the garages, we're starting to try and, as you can tell outside here, steer people to using, the 1,300 spots we have in the garages.
Are they free?
It depends on the time. I think weekends and nights are free, if I'm not mistaken. And then during the day, I think there's a cost. I forget what it is per hour. I don't know if any of you know on the panel, but we just did institute something recently with the Chamber of Commerce where patrons will have access to the first 2 floors, during the day. Monthly parkers would have to park above those floors. And again, that's an attempt to try to give, people who are frequenting the downtown the access to do so. But we're open to any suggestions. If you have something that would help us with respect to parking, we're certainly.
The parking lot that's in
Mr. Mayor, I
there
have
now?
that, Justin, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Throwing some layers on top of the parking lot that's on Pleasant Street.
On Pleasant, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Throwing some layers on that.
Is it just about that one, Mr. Mayor? And 13 years ago, I went to in Cambridge in the office of the mayor, and I asked for some suggestion. What I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I went to the mayor and I asked him. I said, "Is any way in the prayer Jumu'ah is between 1 to 2, and sometimes it's extra 15 minutes and stuff, and 1 hour for parking sometimes is not enough." And I said, "Hamid, I can do one thing for you. I give you from this street to this street on Broadway in Cambridge. And I give you this street that was Sherman Ave or something, one street behind the mosque and one after the mosque. And give me to the end." They said, that space you get, I'm gonna let the metermen, they don't come between 1 to 3. I mean, between 12 to 3. You go have a lunch, whatever it is, but they're not gonna pass the cars. After that, any violence about the cars, whatever it is, we'll take care of it.
Sure.
And that's, if you don't mind, that's a good suggestion. If you don't, just the mere man, gotta have his lunch at least between 12:30 to 2:30, right. As example. That's if you don't mind.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd ask you to do is, Brother Hamid and I get together regularly, so, if you can, get those suggestions to Brother Hamid, when we meet, we'll see what, can work here in the city of Malden.
Sorry, I have one more question for the officer, Kevin. How would you describe the relationship of the officers towards immigrants? Let me just give you an example. For example, are they aware of the Muslim culture? If, let's say, if an officer stops like a Muslim man or Muslim woman, and there is like some actions, for example, if they get off from the car, are they aware of our culture, or do they have any knowledge, or are they going through like training? For example, in Everett, they do have like training on our culture, what you're supposed to say, what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to get off from the car. So what do you think, and can you just give me some
Sure.
Thank you.
Excellent point, particularly in light of the fact that members of your religion and culture are very prominent and growing in the community. It would be important for the police department to anticipate having interactions with people, whether they're being reporting crimes, victims of crimes, or even subject to some type of enforcement. It's an excellent avenue that we should explore, and I would actually, I'm going to look into if there are any formalized training blocks of literature that would be a handy thing that I could get to all the officers explaining that aspect of police training. We have in the past had it with other growing immigrant populations, just some basic introductions to certain gestures that are common to that group that might be misinterpreted by a police officer. The difficulty would be in Malden, where it is so diverse, it's almost impossible to have an officer knowledgeable in every one of them, because it's a growing, trending, evolutionary process. But I will be true to my word, and I'm going to actually talk to the training captain that we have about looking into that possibility, and I'm actually friendly with the chief of Everett, and I'm going to call him and see what they have done and the source of the information that they used. It's definitely an important thing to be able to talk to someone in full respect for the cultural events that are taking place in a normal circumstance. Yeah. Okay. I would promise you I'll look into that.
Before I address my question to the Chief Deputy, I would like to say that we're very happy to have you here, because it's a very important step to do. Getting close to the minorities, it's something very important. As you know, that very minorities coming from countries that had dictatorship practice. So being talking to a government officer or something like that is very hard to do, as people feel not comfortable. So thank you for being here. And my question is that if a business didn't pay their fee, their year fee or whatever, like a fire got set up in their business, do you come to, if the building is getting burned down, would you come to do the service for them, or they have to pay that fee? Because I heard the debate going on that business.
No,
that business didn't pay their fee.
we always want you to pay your fees, but in no way will we ever stop coming to a fire or a medical call if there were any fees. Because those firemen don't know whether fees are paid or not. They're there to save your life. We don't have a list of guys, trust me.
Like that business didn't pay the fee, so they said let it burn down. So they didn't pay.
You don't have to worry about that over here. So we're going to be there for you 24/7.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just actually just need some clarification.
Yeah.
Not here.
Yeah, not here. Right.
A couple of years ago, I was looking for a store to open my bakery in Malden, French bakery. And I contacted the office, the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And he gave me 3 locations in Malden. One is on Exchange Street, one
yep.
on 525 Main Street, and the third one was on Route 60 Eastern Ave.
Sure.
And I chose the one on Main Street, 525 Main Street. I contacted the owner. He agreed to give me the store to open my bakery. When I went to contact the office of the inspection, zoning, the guy wasn't there. I don't know, a man called Scott.
Yep, Fitzpatrick. Yep.
And he wasn't at the office at the time I was there. And he was called, and when I talked to him, he said, "What's the address?" I said 525. He said, "No, you can't open there." So I was discouraged, and I contacted Cambridge City Hall, and it was helpful, very helpful. It was encouraging. And this is different between Malden and this. By the way, this is before you come to office.
Thank you.
So my question is, what's your administration? Is your administration came by something I don't know new to to the people who want to invest in Malden?
Yeah, well, first, I'm sorry to hear what happened, and I hope we get another chance in the future as your business grows, you know, that the second store will be here in Malden. First thing we did back in January when we assumed office is we have a dedicated person now, one person, that's dealing with all the needs of our business community. His name is Kevin Duffy, and he is in the office of the mayor. So any questions that an existing business has or a new business thinking about opening up here in Malden can go to this one person. He will help deal with the questions that need to be answered from all the various departments that are needed to open a business. And I can already tell in 10 months, 11 months now that it's proved to be very successful for all of us up here to have a single point of contact to help our business community grow.
And I proved that to Mr. Mayor with Duffy.
Mr. Duffy, oh great.
Helpful.
Good to hear.
And, he can do everything for you here and with you.
Right.
He can take you all the offices in the city.
Right.
And he come with you to your place and he help you, you know, before you start anything.
Yeah, before in
Very
the
helpful.
in the past, you know, we didn't really have a person, but even if, let's say we did, that person's duties might have been split up between different things going on in the city. But I think we felt strongly that if this community was going to continue to grow, we needed to have one person that businesses could go to get the questions they needed answered to make Malden their home. So his name is Kevin Duffy, and he works in the office of the mayor. So he's not stationed in some remote department. He's in my office every day, and so, you know, we talk back and forth on a daily basis about what we can do to help businesses like yours get up and running here in the city.
We're going to let the sister ask a question, but real quick, there's another question. It's a real quick question.
Not parking, is it?
No, it's
All
not,
right.
sir. If we cite some problems around the city, like we were talking about, interested in contacting the mayor's office, what's the quickest way to contact the mayor's office?
Right, good question. Again, you can email us at info at cityofmalden.org, or you can call us at 781-397-7000, and on the menu it's option 6. That'll take you right to the mayor's office.
Question for the lieutenant.
Sure.
If somebody, strangers, let's say, intrude to your house, breaks into your house, and you're facing him, right? And if you hit him with something, and he gets hurt, would you be in trouble, or what are you supposed to do? I mean, seriously.
No, that's a very it's a very serious question, and it's a very good question, and it requires me to answer it very carefully, because there are two things going on right there. You certainly have the right to defend yourself if you feel you are in imminent danger of being hurt, okay? You have that right. The problem would become, potentially, is after the fact, if there was an analysis of it, it was determined that you responded with excessive violence that was beyond what was needed. But again, everything is looked at on a case-by-case basis. There is no universal answer to this question. But I do not want you to believe that the law requires you to be completely defenseless if you believe you're the victim of an ongoing crime. That you can protect your life, the life of your loved ones or people that are with you. There are laws that, you know, protect your rights to defend yourself, and it's a very important you know, choice to make, and it's something that you sometimes have to make in an instant. But I don't want you to think that the law is so slanted toward the criminal that you are defenseless. You have the right to protect and defend yourself. But there are certain cases that get looked at afterwards that are determined to be a little bit, you know, excessive.
But we would say, Lieutenant Molis and I would encourage all of you, you know, we meet on a weekly basis with the police department to go over different crimes that have occurred in the city. And when it comes to house breaks, people getting into your home, one thing that we've found on a somewhat regular basis is the window was left open. The door might be left cracked, ajar. So we can't stress it enough, when you leave your home, you know, on a daily basis, please make sure that you lock your windows, you lock your doors, You don't leave anything in and around the house that could be used to prop open a window. You know, like we just had a case recently where the person that broke into the home saw a ladder in the backyard. He put the ladder up and went into the house. So really make sure when you leave that you lock your windows and you lock your door. And then the other thing that's always really incredibly it flummoxed us is when it comes to car brakes. 90 to 95% of the brakes going into a car is because the door is unlocked. So the easiest way I think the lieutenant would say is to just lock your doors, please, when you go home and you go out. Lock your doors. 90 to 95% of the car brakes that are occurring are from unlocked doors to a car.
I just want to say thank you. I've been here for like 3 years in Malden, and I never had any problems actually. The only experience I had is with the fire department, and those guys just did a great job, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For the inspection. I just have a quick question about, in my field, in the dental field, I have noticed a lack of awareness or education, especially with foreigners, people who come from foreign countries. The lack of awareness of like dental education, or like I don't get it from Americans, like people who are born here, like you need to fix your teeth or whatever. And I get that from minorities people, like they say, I don't think I need to do that, especially with kids. They're not aware they have to go and visit the dentist or whatever. Do you have any programs in the city, basically, to educate those people in the schools, or just to make them aware that you really have to fix your teeth, or you have to visit the dentist? If you have problems, you should visit the dentist not whenever you have pain or problems.
Yeah, we don't have a program per se, on that. I think we rely on, Brother Hamid and other members of the OCRC to help, coordinate if there's a need for a service. One thing that's helped us, I think, bring the city and the OCRC together is Brother Hamid and I are speaking on a regular basis about the interests of the members of the center. And so we're hoping those avenues will bring more awareness to the issues that, that you cited. But there isn't a program per se at the city level that we use to, bring awareness. The levels of government that do more of that would be the state and to some degree the federal government. Hello. So, thank you. And we do want to, before we go on, just want to really thank Malden Access Television for being here tonight.
Sir, I have a question regarding the city ordinance. I think because the question about marijuana you were talking about, that's a legislative or it's a constitutional issue. And now, like Massachusetts has a state law and then city law, and then now there's like city of Malden, when they do the city ordinance, and you have a state law that says, no, you're allowed to do it, which one would override another? And I'm not talking about just the simple stuff, maybe more of the bigger issues. That's one question. Another question is, if you were fined for a city ordinance, how could that, and for example, like I'm not knowledgeable about this issue, and I do get fined for that, is there a way or a system that I can go to the city like, well, I didn't know that, or I was knowledge about this issue, so why am I being fined? And how easy can I get off the hook?
Right.
Of course, if it's not our fault, it's not your intention of that. And how strict is that city ordinance? Fines or fees or punishments towards?
Well, first, I think on the sort of dichotomy between the federal, state, and the local governmental level, it all depends, I believe, on how the law is crafted. Because we all have, responsibilities separate from one another, but that are really connected to one another. So we always look at the language, obviously, to see what the law's intent is and what ability we have as a community to try and stay within the confines of the law, but also, do what we want to do as a community. I would say one of the moves that we have made to try and address ordinances that are issued, you know, on residents of Malden is that we now have a municipal hearing officer that was created by the city council and signed by the mayor. What this has done is it's given people an opportunity to address their citation, you know, or violation of the ordinance without first having to go to court. A couple of years ago, that was the only avenue. It was the first avenue, and in a lot of cases it was the only avenue, that if you were, you know, if you received a citation, in order for you to appeal it, you had to go to the district court. But the state legislature, to their credit, passed a law that we adopted that now allows us to have this level before you go to court to address the ordinance. So if an ordinance was issued against you, you could appeal it, there would be a hearing at City Hall, and then depending on what happened there would, you know, dictate your next steps. But there is that chance now where you could have that addressed in a manner which would, you know, prevent you from having to go to court.
Excellent, thank you. If I may, just real quick, in regard to some of the crimes that you all were speaking of, in defense of the city of Malden, I just want to say that, in my opinion, the reason why there's so many crimes and the reasons why you all are kind of finding that people are leaving their doors unlocked and their windows, is because really people feel safe in Malden. I'm telling you the truth. I'm from Roxbury, born and raised. I feel safe in Malden. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for doing the fine job that you do to make us all feel that way. This is in defense of the city, so again.
Let me just say, he's a new spokesperson. He'll stop Monday. Thank you.
Okay. I go through Main Street from Everett, Malden, Melrose, Wakefield, evening. And I see in Melrose and Wakefield, everybody is jogging, maybe taking care of his health or her health. So is there any way to, same way that there can be some awareness, you know, for health? And I do recall that a few years ago there was a free eye exam beside the city hall. So for the dental, you can do maybe a free oral exam, and from there people can come to you. But my question is, why so many people take care of their health in Melrose and Wakefield? I don't see anybody jogging around here.
Jogging around here?
Yeah, jogging, I think they have doing some stuff. There's a big difference. Could I go from Everett, there's nobody jogging, Malden, few people, Melrose more people, and Wakefield more people. They seem to be happy and better health.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd necessarily agree. I think Malden, you know, for an urban city, we have over 30, you know, parks in the city of Malden that I think we see people frequenting all the time. And we just are about to unveil a new bike path in the middle of the city that's going to run from Everett up to the beach. December 1st is the ribbon cutting. So, you know, and then we also have River's Edge. We're trying to make better use of the river down along Commercial Street, you know, where you've seen some development there. So we're trying to promote different ways that, you know, people can stay healthy in what is an urban setting. And I think we're getting there. Bob Knox, to my far right, he's been doing a number of sidewalk repairs, you know, around the city to make it safer for people to walk and run. So I think as time goes on, you're going to see an increased emphasis on, you're going to see it around the city, people doing more jogging and walking and running and biking, and because that's what I think makes Malden so unique, is that you really have a superb location, you know, compared to other cities and towns. And I think as these repairs happen, it'll even be better.
Yeah, locations are there, but they don't use, I think they are not used as much as in other places. You can check on,
fair
Saturdays, on Melrose and Wakefield, everybody's running.
Yeah.
You know, Wakefield, everybody's running.
Yeah.
And you know what? They have the world champion in judo, Kayla Harrison.
Yes.
So maybe we can get our champion.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Thank you. Brother?
Okay, inshallah, we're gonna, if the mayor doesn't mind, we're gonna we'll maybe make this the last question and allow some time for snacks. And while we do that, we're gonna make this last question. While people are gonna enjoy their snacks, inshallah, we're gonna make the prayer down, I think, at the other end of the masjid. Inshallah. Please ask your question, brother.
Mr. Mayor, my question about the snow in this area here.
Sure.
I think the gentleman is a landlord of this block from 6 to 22.
Yep.
Been here for almost since 99. And this area, it'd be the lousiest area. This guy, he was shoveling his sidewalk for his building or his building.
Okay.
He made the last thing, if he did, he do like a pad, a small pad. And then to the stone wall finish next day, and then he do it in his way.
Sure.
We'd like the Mr. Council, if he send him a letter for the snow, even beware or warning or something, to follow the storms like everybody else.
Sure.
Do not be delayed his cleanup, and meantime, a lot of Muslims, they come to the prayer and stuff, and very hard to get into from their cars to the mosque.
Yeah, we know this is an issue, and this is something that Mr. Knox and I have been working closely on. You know, we are a very walkable city, but when it comes to snow and ice, I think we have some work to do there. So let me ask Mr. Knox what the game plan is for this winter.
Actually, sir, we do have a designated Bobcat that will be assigned to the Malden Square area during the storm. So we'll be doing the sidewalks along Exchange Street, Main Street, in the heart of the square with the Department of Public Works staff for the businesses. So we do have a set unit for that.
Thank you. It was not that the landlord is supposed to do that, it's supposed to be the city, right?
It's a combination. You know, we have an ordinance now that requires homeowners and businesses to create a path in front of their home or business. But I think is it 6 inches? I forget the length. It's not to what we need to do. So Mr. Knox, in his new capacity, has made it sort of a priority to do more than what is required in the ordinance so that our patrons in the downtown will be safe getting to and from this area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So at this time, we would like to thank the mayor and our special guest for coming and again choosing our center for this historic event. I'd like to give them one last round of applause and say thank you to all of them for the great job. So with that, we'd like to ask all of our guests to please enjoy yourself